clock. At 4 minutes, I would like to hear someone clap at 4 minutes. Okay. Someone clap at 5, and when we got 30 seconds left, let me hear another clap so I can get out. All right. Okay. As Mr. Toastmaster was telling you, my name is Eddie Williams, and I was born and raised in Mississippi, and I attended a state school in Jackson, Mississippi, after I lost my vision at the age of 7 due to glaucoma and cataracts, as he told you. And being away from home when you're 8 years old can really be a major problem. You know, when you've never been away from home, you're away from your parents and being blind too. That could be quite traumatic. And it was traumatic for my parents to take me to the school some 120 some miles away where I couldn't come home and who knows when. I'm gonna tell you a story about that. When I first started down there at School for the Blind in Mississippi, I cried the whole week I was there. And the principal came out and told me, she said, you know what? If you continue to cry, you'll never go home. You'll be here forever. I felt like it was a nightmare. So you know, I immediately cut off the tears. And sure enough, the principal did just like she said she would. A month later, I started going home every other week on Fridays and returning on Sundays. And after going to school for 3 years there at the State School for the Blind in Jackson, Mississippi, when I came home that summer, they told me they were moving to Chicago. Of course, that was like Christmas in July. And when I came here to Chicago, I went to a regular public school. It was a school where it was just a few blind students there, Perry Elementary, there on 91st and University. And I graduated from there. And after finishing there, I went on to Bowen High School, which is also on the southeast side. And there at Bowen High School, they had a student body of about 3,500 students. And out of those 3,500, they had about 15 blind and visually impaired students. Now, what I mean by blind and visually impaired, visually impaired is really the correct word, the politically correct word. But I'm so comfortable with my blindness, either one of them will do, really. But visually impaired is really someone who still has some vision, but very little. But at that school, they had about altogether 15 students in all. And when I graduated from there, there was 596 students graduating with me. But let me backtrack for a minute. When I was in 6th grade, I got interested in radio. And I used to listen to a guy by the name of Joe Cobb, who worked at a radio station called WVON. And a lot of you probably don't know that name, but Joe Cobb is the one, whenever you watch Soul Train, who does the Soul Train scream when they go for commercials, the one that say, the Soul Train. Well, Joe Cobb, he inspired me to get into radio. And what was so interesting, during my 4 years of high school, I was a team DJ with Herb Kent. I'm sure a lot of you all here in Chicago know that name. He's an icon in radio here in the city. And he was working at VON, but every Saturday night between 8:30 and 9, he gave budding DJs who were teenagers in high school or college a chance to come in and sort of get their talents together. And during that 4 years, I was on as a team DJ 12 times. Nice. And the first time I was on, I guess I was so crazy till I couldn't get nervous. And I wasn't nervous, I just shot right straight through it. So after that, being on VON and getting bit by the radio bug, I decided to go to Columbia College and major in broadcasting. And while I was at Columbia College, I got a chance to intern at WGCI. I used to get up every morning at 2 o'clock. Well, not every morning, but every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2 o'clock to be at GCI at 5 a.m. in the morning to work with Bob Wall. And I didn't have the PACE service then. I used to do this on the bus in L, take the bus to 35th and Kedzie, and right there by the river, right there, 3350 South Kedzie is what VON used to be. But after that, after I finished my internship and went to college, I used to send demo tapes out to different radio stations around the country. And the minute I told them I was blind, they was no longer interested in me. So I decided to take a different approach. I went to California and didn't tell the guy, the program director, that I was blind. And when I got out there, he was totally shocked, I'm sure. But I did get the job.
Nice.
And after getting the job there, I went on to LA and got a job there for 2.5 years and returned to Chicago and got into voiceovers where I've done commercials and did extra work in movies. And even was a technical advisor on a TV show. And right now, I'm involved with 5 different projects. I have 3 radio shows. I'm involved with the Soul Notebook, Soul of the 70s, and Sound of the Summer. And I do voiceovers on commercials, and I teach voiceover classes. And I work with the state of Illinois as a rehab teacher where I work with people who are newly blind, and I teach them how to read Braille, cook, clean, and do things the way a blind person would. And I find that very rewarding.
6 minutes.
And that's it. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to get up and tell you the history of my life in this Icebreaker.
All right.